Watch Judge Judy's face. In 3 seconds, a 6-year-old says something that breaks her and changes everything. In 30 years on the bench, Judge Judy has heard thousands of custody cases. Screaming parents, false accusations, manipulation. She's seen it all. But what this little girl whispered in court, 5 words so devastating they stopped a trial cold, exposed a truth so dark that Judge Judy did something she's never done before. She called the police while court was still in session. This is Emma, 6 years old, brown eyes, missing front tooth, holding a stuffed rabbit she's had since birth. She's sitting in a courtroom because her parents are fighting over custody. Her mother wants full custody. Her father is fighting to keep even partial rights, and Emma is caught between them. But this isn't a typical custody battle. What Emma knows, what she's been carrying inside her for 8 months, is going to unravel in front of millions of viewers in a way that no one saw coming. Not her mother, not the lawyers, not even Judge Judy, who's been handling family court cases since before Emma was born. Because when Judge Judy asked Emma a simple question, a question she asks children in every custody case, Emma's answer revealed something that had been happening behind closed doors. Something her mother had been lying about for months. Something so serious that within 48 hours, Emma's mother would be in handcuffs. And it all started with 5 words a little girl shouldn't know how to say. But to understand how we got to that moment, you need to meet the parents. You need to see how broken this family was. And you need to understand what Emma had been watching every single night. Stop. Right here, hit that like button now. And I'm going to tell you why this matters. What you're about to hear is a real case involving a real child whose life was at stake. I'm going to show you exactly how Judge Judy spotted the signs of parental alienation and emotional abuse. I'm going to walk you through the moment-by-moment breakdown of how a trained judge reads a child's body language, catches a parent in a lie, and protects a child who couldn't protect themselves, like this video. Because by the end, you're going to understand how to spot when a child is being coached versus when they're telling truth they wish they didn't know. Comment below. Have you ever witnessed parental alienation? This happens more than you think. David Martinez was 34 years old, elementary school teacher, coached Little League on weekends, never missed one of Emma's dance recitals. The kind of dad who did voices for every character when reading bedtime stories. He'd been married to Christine for 9 years. The first 6 were good. But something changed after Emma turned 3. Christine became distant, critical, angry at things that had never bothered her before. David tried counseling. Christine refused. David suggested date nights. Christine said she was too busy. David asked what was wrong. Christine said nothing, in a tone that meant everything. The divorce filing came on a Tuesday. David came home from work to find the house empty. Emma's toys gone. Christine's clothes gone. A note on the kitchen table, "My lawyer will contact you. Don't try to reach me." David didn't understand. There'd been no affair, no abuse, no addiction, just distance that had grown into a wall and then into an ending. The divorce was contentious from day one. Christine wanted full custody with supervised visitation only. Her lawyer claimed David had anger issues and was emotionally unstable. David had never raised his hand to anyone in his life, had never even raised his voice to Emma. But Christine's accusations kept coming. She filed reports claiming David had screamed at Emma until she cried, that he'd thrown objects in anger, that Emma was afraid to be alone with him. None of it was true. But in family court, accusations stick. Mud thrown at a wall doesn't need proof to leave stains. David was granted supervised visitation, 4 hours every Sunday, in a facility with a court monitor present. He went from tucking his daughter into bed every night to seeing her in a sterile room under a stranger's watchful eye. And during those 4-hour visits, Emma was different, quieter, more careful with her words. She'd glance at the monitor before answering David's questions. She'd hesitate before hugging him like she was checking if it was allowed. David noticed bruises sometimes, small ones, on Emma's arms, her shins. "Where'd you get these, sweetie?" Emma would look away. "I felt you fall a lot lately." Silence. The monitor would make a note. David learned to stop asking. For 6 months, David saw his daughter for 4 hours a week. He paid $200 per visit for the supervised facility. He paid $8,000 in legal fees trying to get custody restored. He paid in ways that couldn't be measured. The nights he cried himself to sleep, the mornings he woke up reaching for a daughter who wasn't there, and then he got the call from his lawyer. "We have a court date. Judge Judy's show. They're interested in the case." David knew Judge Judy didn't play games, knew she had no patience for lying parents, knew that if anyone could see through Christine's accusations, it was a judge who'd spent decades spotting liars. What David didn't know was that Emma was about to tell the truth in a way that would shatter everything. Christine Martinez was 32, worked in pharmaceutical sales, made good money, dressed well, presented as the victim of a failed marriage to a controlling, volatile man. Her version of the divorce: David was emotionally abusive, screamed during arguments, made her feel unsafe, made Emma feel unsafe. The divorce was Christine finally finding the courage to leave for her daughter's sake. Her lawyer had prepared a compelling narrative. Christine was a protective mother shielding her child from a father who couldn't control his temper. Yes, David had never been arrested. Yes, there was no police record. But emotional abuse doesn't always leave visible scars. Christine came to court dressed conservatively. Hair pulled back, minimal makeup, the picture a concerned, responsible mother. She had documentation, incident logs she'd kept, recording dates and times David had allegedly lost his temper. Photos of Emma looking sad. Statements from her own mother saying she'd witnessed David yelling. On paper, it looked bad for David, but what Christine didn't account for was Emma. For 8 months, Christine had been systematically destroying Emma's relationship with her father. It's called parental alienation, and it's one of the cruelest forms of psychological abuse. Christine would tell Emma, "Daddy doesn't want to see you as much. That's why he only visits on Sundays." She'd say, "If Daddy really loved you, he'd fight harder." She'd plant seeds. "Does Daddy ever yell at you? It's okay to tell me. I'll protect you." And when Emma would come home from visits happy, Christine would shut it down. "You seem confused, sweetie. Remember, we talked about how Daddy scares you sometimes." She coached Emma on what to say if anyone asked about Dad. She rehearsed scenarios. She rewarded Emma with treats and praise when Emma repeated the right version of events, but Christine made a critical mistake. She focused so much on controlling what Emma said about David that she forgot to control what Emma might say about her, because while Christine was busy alienating Emma from her father, she'd brought someone new into Emma's life, a boyfriend named Marcus. And Marcus had a temper Christine couldn't script around. Judge Judy reviewed the file with her typical sharp-eyed scrutiny. Custody case. Mother claiming father was emotionally abusive. Father claiming mother was lying. Standard, she said, except for one detail that caught Judge Judy's attention. The child was 6. And according to the therapist's notes, Emma had stopped speaking in complete sentences around adults she didn't know. Selective mutism in custody cases usually meant one thing: the child was being pressured, traumatized, caught in the middle and shutting down as a survival mechanism. Judge Judy started with Christine. "Miss Martinez, you're asking for sole custody with supervised visitation for the father. Why?" Christine's voice was steady, practiced. "Your Honor, my ex-husband has anger management issues. Emma has witnessed him screaming, throwing things, and creating an unsafe emotional environment. I've documented everything. I have witness statements. I'm simply trying to protect my daughter." Judge Judy scanned the incident logs. "These incidents, you wrote that he screamed at Emma until she cried. Were you present?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And what did he scream?" Christine hesitated for half a second. "I don't recall the exact words, but the tone was aggressive and frightening." Judge Judy's eyebrow raised. "You recall that he screamed until your daughter cried, but you don't recall a single word he said?" "It was the tone, Your Honor. The anger." Judge Judy turned to David. "Mr. Martinez." David's voice was quiet but firm. "Never, Your Honor. Not once. I've never raised my voice to Emma in anger." "He's lying," Christine interjected. "He's manipulative. He's always been. I didn't ask you." Judge Judy's voice was ice. She turned back to David. "Do you have any history of domestic violence, any arrests, any reports filed against you prior to this divorce?" "No, Your Honor. Nothing, ever." Judge Judy reviewed the file again. Clean record, no protective orders, no police calls, no therapy records indicating abuse. Just Christine's word and her mother's corroborating statement, and then Judge Judy did what she always did when parents couldn't agree. She asked to speak with the child. "Bailiff, please bring in Emma." The courtroom door opened and a small girl walked in, clutching a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. One ear was torn, the fur was matted, but Emma held it like a lifeline. She was tiny, brown hair in 2 braids, a purple dress that was slightly too big, and eyes that looked too old for a 6-year-old's face. Judge Judy's voice softened immediately. "Hi, Emma. My name is Judge Judy. Do you know why you're here today?" Emma nodded but didn't speak. "Can you use your words, sweetheart? Because Mommy and Daddy are fighting." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "That's right, and I need to ask you some questions to help me understand what's best for you. Is that okay?" Another nod. Judge Judy gestured to a chair that had been brought in smaller, closer to Emma's size. Emma climbed into it, her feet not touching the ground. She kept her eyes down, focused on the rabbit in her lap. "Emma, I want you to know that you're not in trouble. No one here is angry at you. I just want to hear the truth about how things are at home." "Can you tell me the truth?" "Yes." So quiet the microphone, Emma's head came up. For the first time, her eyes met Judge Judy's. Yes. Does Daddy ever yell at you? No. Does Daddy ever scare you? Emma hesitated, glanced at her mother, then back to Judge Judy. No. Judge Judy noticed the glance, filed it away. What about Mommy? Does Mommy ever yell? Emma's hands tightened on the rabbit. Sometimes. What does Mommy yell about? When I don't remember the right things. The courtroom went very quiet. Christine shifted in her seat. Judge Judy leaned forward slightly. What do you mean, the right things? Emma's voice got smaller. The things I'm supposed to say about Daddy, Christine's lawyer stood. Your Honor, the child is clearly confused. Children this age often mix up. Sit down. Judge Judy didn't even look at the lawyer. Her eyes stayed on Emma. Sweetheart, did someone tell you what to say about your daddy? Emma nodded. Who told you? Mommy. The air left the courtroom. Christine's face flushed red. That's not Emma, honey, you're confused. I said sit down and be quiet. Judge Judy's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. She turned back to Emma, her voice gentle again. Emma, I need you to be very brave right now. Can you do that for me? Emma nodded, tears starting to well in her eyes. Does Mommy ever hurt you? No. Does Daddy ever hurt you? No. Is there anyone at Mommy's house who hurt you? And that's when Emma said it. 5 words that changed everything. Emma's voice broke. Tears spilled down her cheeks. And she whispered, Marcus hits my daddy's picture. For 3 full seconds, nobody in that courtroom moved. Judge Judy's expression transformed. The sharp, no-nonsense judge disappeared. What replaced it was something softer and more dangerous. Protective fury. Who is Marcus? Emma, Mommy's friend. He lives with us. Christine was half standing now. Your Honor, this is completely inappropriate. My personal life. Judge Judy's hand came up. Bailiff, if she speaks again without being asked a direct question, remove her from the courtroom. Christine sat down, her face white. Judge Judy's voice stayed soft, focused entirely on Emma. Emma, when you say Marcus hits your daddy's picture, can you tell me more about that? Emma wiped her eyes with the rabbit's ear. There's a picture of Daddy in my room from when we went to the zoo. Marcus says Daddy's a bad man and he doesn't want bad men in his house, and Marcus hits the picture. He takes it off the wall and throws it. Sometimes he steps on it. Judge Judy's jaw tightened. Does Marcus ever hit you, Emma? Emma hesitated. That hesitation told Judge Judy everything. Emma, the truth. Has Marcus ever hit you? He pushed me once, into the wall, because I was crying. Christine stood again. Your Honor, this is a complete fabrication. My daughter is being coached by bailiff. Escort Ms. Martinez out of this courtroom now. Christine's lawyer tried to object. Your Honor, you can't remove a parent from watch me. Judge Judy's voice was steel. Either she leaves willingly or she's carried out. I am conducting a child welfare interview, and the child is clearly terrified of speaking in front of her mother. Remove her. The bailiff moved. Christine, realizing she had no choice, grabbed her purse and walked out, her heels clicking on the marble floor. The door closed behind her. The courtroom exhaled. Emma's shoulders dropped slightly, the tension releasing just a little. Judge Judy waited until the room was completely quiet again. Then she asked the question that would break the internet and shatter what was left of this case. Emma, sweetheart, you said in the beginning that you love your daddy. Do you want to live with your daddy? Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. Why are you crying, honey? And Emma said the words that the title promised, the words that made Judge Judy's eyes glisten, the words that 87 million people would replay over and over, because my daddy cries every night. Judge Judy was very still. Her hand was pressed flat against her desk. Her eyes were bright, not with tears, but with something close. How do you know your daddy cries every night, Emma? Because he calls me before bed. Mommy doesn't know. I have a phone in my room she doesn't check, and Daddy always sounds like he's been crying. David, sitting at his table, had his hand over his mouth. His shoulders shook. Emma continued, her voice small but steady now. He tries to hide it, but I can hear it. And he always says, I love you, Emma Bear, and I say, I love you too, Daddy. And then Marcus yells at Mommy if he hears me talking. Judge Judy took a slow breath. When she spoke, her voice was different than it had been all day. No sharpness, no performance. Just a woman who'd been a mother, a grandmother, and a judge for too many years not to know when a child was telling a truth that was ripping her apart. Emma, you've been very, very brave. I'm going to ask you to wait in another room with a nice lady while I talk to the grown-ups. Is that okay? Emma nodded. She climbed down from the chair, still clutching the rabbit. As she walked past David's table, she stopped, looked up at him, and David broke. He dropped to his knees and pulled his daughter into his arms. Emma buried her face in his shoulder and sobbed. David whispered, It's okay, baby. It's okay, Daddy's here. Judge Judy let them have that moment. The cameras captured it, and anyone watching could see this was not a man who terrorized his child. This was a man who'd been terrorized by losing her. After a minute, the court advocate gently took Emma's hand and led her out, Judge Judy turned to Christine's lawyer with an expression that could have melted steel. "Counselor, bring your client back in." Christine walked back in, defiant. "Your Honor, I don't know what my daughter said." "But, sit down." Christine sat. Judge Judy held up her hand. "Ms. Martinez, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've seen every custody scam, every manipulation tactic, every lie parents tell, but what you've done is exceptional even by those standards." She pulled out a new document. "While you were out of the room, I made a phone call to Child Protective Services. They're opening an emergency investigation into the living conditions at your home, specifically regarding your boyfriend Marcus Chen." Christine's face went pale. "You had no right. I have every right. Your daughter just testified that a man in your home physically assaulted her. That alone is grounds for emergency removal." "She's lying. She's been coached by David too. Your daughter doesn't even know how to lie convincingly yet, Ms. Martinez, which is why I believe every word she said." Judge Judy leaned forward. "Here's what's going to happen. Custody is awarded to David Martinez, effective immediately. You will have supervised visitation only, pending the outcome of the CPS investigation. If Marcus Chen is found to have assaulted this child, I will personally ensure that the district attorney's office is notified." Christine was shaking. "You can't do this. I'm her mother. You're a woman who chose a man who assaults children over protecting your daughter. In my courtroom, that disqualifies you from unsupervised custody." Judge Judy closed the file. "We're done here." Within 48 hours, CPS completed an emergency investigation. They found bruises on Emma's arms consistent with grabbing testimony from neighbors who'd heard shouting and crying from the apartment text messages between Christine and Marcus, where Christine wrote, "Just ignore her when she talks about David. She'll stop eventually." Security footage from the apartment building showing Marcus grabbing Emma roughly by the arm in the parking lot. Marcus Chen was arrested and charged with child endangerment. He pleaded guilty and received probation plus mandatory anger management. Christine's custody was reduced to supervised visits twice a month. She completed parenting classes and therapy but never regained primary custody. David and Emma moved to a new apartment together. Emma started therapy for the trauma of parental alienation. Slowly, over months, she started laughing again, started talking freely, started being a 6-year-old instead of a child carrying adult burdens. Judge Judy's ruling became a case study in family law courses on recognizing parental alienation and protecting children brave enough to tell the truth. The clip of Emma saying, "My daddy cries every night," was shared 87 million times, not because it was scandalous, but because it was heartbreaking, real, and a reminder that custody battles aren't about parents winning, they're about children surviving. If you take nothing else from this story, understand this. Children don't lie about the things that scare them. They might mix up details, they might confuse timelines, but when a child says, "Someone hurts me," believe them. Parental alienation is abuse. Teaching a child to hate a loving parent is psychological violence. It damages children as much as physical abuse, sometimes more because the scars are invisible. Watch for coaching. When a child hesitates before answering, glances at a parent for approval, or uses language too adult for their age, emotionally unstable, toxic environment, they're repeating what they've been told to say. The truth lives in the details. Emma didn't say "Daddy is mean." She said Marcus hits Daddy's picture. That specificity, that odd little detail, is what truth sounds like from a child. And most importantly, protective instinct doesn't have a gender. David wasn't aggressive. He wasn't controlling. He was a father who cried every night because he missed his daughter. That's not weakness. That's love that has nowhere to go. If you know a parent being falsely accused, fighting for custody of a child they love, share this story. Let them know they're not alone. If Emma's 5 words broke your heart the way they broke Judge Judy's, hit that like button right now. Smash it. Because this video needs to reach every parent, every grandparent, every person who works with children and needs to know what parental alienation looks like. Comment "Protect the children" if you believe courts should prioritize kids' voices over parents' accusations. Tell me, have you or someone you know been through a custody battle? How did it end? Your story might help someone watching this right now. Stippers, because next week I'm covering the case where a mother tried to fake her own child's disability for sympathy until the child's teacher testified. It's even more disturbing than this, if you can believe it. Share this video with anyone who works in family law, education, or child services. Emma's testimony should be required viewing. Remember, children shouldn't have to choose between parents. But when one parent forces them to, the truth always sounds like a child who just wants their daddy to stop crying every night because he misses her. And she misses him, and now finally they're together. That's justice.